Today, we're joined by Lydia M. Sigwarth, author of Dear Librarian, which is going on sale June 1st, 2021. Lydia M. Sigwarth is an author and children's librarian in Wisconsin. Being a librarian has been her dream job since she was a small child. Lydia currently lives in Platteville, Wisconsin with her family. Her absolute favorite thing to do is to talk books with budding bookworms. Dear Librarian is her debut picture book. You can find her online at Library Lydia. Take it away, Lydia.
My name is Lydia Sigwarth, and I'm honored to share with you today my story. When I was 5 years old, my father had to leave his job as the manager of a restaurant in Denver. My parents had 7 children, and the loss of their one source of income was, as you can imagine, quite frightening. As many families do when facing financial instability, my parents packed us up and moved us to Iowa to be closer to family and for a job for my dad. For the next 6 months, my family relied on friends and family for shelter. My father was working long, hard days at a new restaurant, and it was a difficult time for my family. But I didn't realize until adulthood how serious my family's situation had been, because for me, that part of my childhood was fondly known as the year we lived at the library. My parents didn't want to overburden the friends and families that were letting us stay with them, so most days my mom would pack up my siblings and I and take us to the public library. The Carnegie Stout Public Library was my family's only stable home for that year. We went almost every day, all day. We read, we did homework, and we played for hours. I remember my little brother taking a nap on my sister's lap while she quietly read Berenstain Bear books to me during those long afternoons. During this time, any trauma of homelessness was completely overshadowed by my undying love and affection for the children's librarian, a woman I only knew as Mrs. S. To me, Mrs. S was Wonder Woman in a cardigan. I couldn't wait to see her every morning. I would climb the stairs to the children's department and make a beeline for her desk. And I would explain to her very specifically, probably quite poorly, exactly what book I had my heart set on that day. This created a beautiful friendship between the two of us. She would lead me through the stacks looking for the perfect book. And then she would sit right down on the floor and listen to me prattle on about all my thoughts. These little moments with a woman whose full name I didn't even know, this is what I remember from that year. Every time I came, she would have a list of suggestions that she'd thought of since I last came. It created an impression on me that she thought about me all the time, even when I wasn't there. The funny thing is, I didn't even like to read. As a child, I was much more concerned with playing outside, chasing my brother, and getting very muddy than I was with sitting inside, learning to read and write. My mother was terrified that I would become a feral child and never learn anything. See, Mrs. S knew I didn't like reading, but she knew I liked her. So she made the library fun and safe and exciting. And by the end of the year, I was reading voraciously. Eventually, my family got back on their feet. My dad got a promotion, we found a house, and eventually my parents became financially stable enough to become small business owners. And we moved to a small town in Wisconsin. The very first thing I wanted to do when we moved was visit the public library. I missed Mrs. S, but I knew even then that she'd already done enough. She'd given me a place to go, a place that was mine, a place where I felt loved and understood during a time in my life where nothing felt safe or sure. She made the library a port in a storm for a homeless child and her family. A few years ago, I was in a meeting about homelessness and libraries. The presenter shared the definition of homelessness as an individual with an unstable or non-permanent housing situation. In that moment, the memories of that time, those childhood days spent in the library, hit me so strongly I had to stubbornly hold back tears. I realized that my family had been homeless and I never even realized it. I was so thankful because that library, because of Mrs. S, I only had good memories of what could have been very dark days. I instead only remembered happy days spent at the library, feeling loved, understood, cared for, and safe. I don't know who I would be if it wasn't for that library and if it wasn't for Mrs. S. She gave me my passion and my life purpose. It made me who I am, and I am forever grateful for that. In an attempted recompense, I became a librarian, and I spend my days trying to provide that safe, welcoming environment to the children in my community. After that meeting, I decided I needed to find Mrs. S. I needed to thank her. And after years of searching, with the aid of This American Life, I found her, resulting in one of the most amazing experiences of my entire life. They say not to meet your heroes, but she was the exception to that rule. Sometimes I had assumed that my memory had been playing tricks on me, that there couldn't possibly be a person with that much patience and kindness. But I discovered that there was. She was a person who could make me feel at home in a public space. And I can tell you now, with the certainty of an adult perspective, that she really is just that magical. I sat in Deborah Stevenson's office. We held hands and we cried with each other for an hour after not seeing each other for 20 years. After meeting Deb, I knew I had to tell the world about her, to share how one librarian's kindness can change a life. I'm so lucky that Macmillan was able to bring together an amazing team, including my talented illustrator, Romina Galotta, to tell this story. The story told in my debut picture book, Dear Librarian, coming to library shelves everywhere this June. Thank you.